Since it became clear that Elon Musk's Doge department would have a much more integral role in the Trump administration than anybody really thought, which I would say was probably around the election that it really started to become clear, when Musk really started spending a lot of time with Trump on stage, inserting himself into a lot of conversations. I think Trump is also now being given something he wanted more than anything, and that's the ability to not run the country, not actually have to deal with the workplace bullshit, but to just fuck off and do whatever he wants, like running the Kennedy Center, which we'll get to in a second. Musk associates given unfettered access to private data of government employees. The Musk-connected political hires include 2 recent high school graduates. So this was one of the first headlines. The news that there were 2 recent high school graduates among the Doge kids, which is what I've taken to calling them. Several of Elon Musk's associates installed at the Office of Personnel Management have received unprecedented access to federal human resources databases containing sensitive personal information for millions of federal employees. According to 2 members of OPM staff with direct knowledge, the Musk team has the ability to extract information from databases that store medical histories, personally identifiable information, workplace evaluations, and other private data. Staffers spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly and feared professional retaliation. Now, that's incredibly fair, because we've already seen that also, like, government watchdog groups, DEI watchdog groups, self-appointed, have started keeping track of government employees who are black, who are female, who are anything but straight and white, because they're possible DEI hires. Among the government outsiders granted entry to the OPM databases is University of California, Berkeley student Akash Baba, a software engineer who graduated high school less than 3 years ago. Previously interned at Meta and Palantir, a technology firm chaired by Musk ally Peter Thiel. Edward Korestein, another 2022 high school graduate at software engineer intern at Neuralink, has been given access to the databases. Basically, so far, this was a couple days ago, we learned that these people had been instructed to just basically give the Musk kids, the Muskrats, let's say, whatever they want. Like, just go fucking wild with all of this incredibly sensitive data, right? A OPM director who spoke to Muskwatch on the condition they would not be mentioned by name agreed with staffers' concerns. Quote, "What Musk is doing will put so many government employees at risk. It's not at all what the office is intended for," said the former OPM director. "I just can't believe what I'm seeing." There are also potential security risks. Quote, "China and Russia are literally trying to hack us every day, and we just gave all this data over to somebody that's not been properly vetted." Yeah. None of these kids, by the way, have been politically vetted. And let's look at the other actions Doge has taken first before going into who the little muskrats are. What's their deal? USAID thus far has been the biggest crown jewel in Elon's we're finding fraud crown. And it's a complete fucking bullshit, because he and the dumbass children that follow him and the dumbasses on Twitter who are perpetuating this nonsense do not understand how to actually read or understand how funding things works. The USAID does a lot of shit for a lot of people, and like a lot of our funding, quote unquote funding, that goes to, remember at the beginning when I was talking about how cutting programs that like work on overseas, funding malaria studies, funding studies for HIV and AIDS, it's all in service of either a healthier world, a better global presence for the US, or just like good old-fashioned diplomacy, like going after those, having leverage for them sweet natural earth minerals or whatever the fuck. Anyway, nobody seems to know or care about any of this shit anymore, so it's all just getting cut. Anything that might help people is getting cut because it's secretly leftist. That like there was a great it's been going around that apparently, you know, some amount was spent on making a Sesame Street in Iran, but it was funded by USAID. I believe it was USAID. Can you think why? You might want to have, and granted, this is like some CIA talking here, but put your noggin on for a second. Do you think why? Why would America want to have ideological sway over the children of a country that is often regarded as an enemy? That's wow. And just conservatives will hoist this kind of argument out and be like, look at all this dumb stuff we're spending money on. It's like I'm not saying it was a great way to spend money, but also it's fucking Sesame Street. Like, who gives a shit? What? Yeah, it is. It's literally soft power. Like I'm not saying it's good or bad either way. I'm saying that is what it means to be living on a global stage. And here, the true problem with, like, if you want to be the biggest badass on the block, you don't just abscond with every bit of that soft power that you have. Like, you don't just say, hey, I'm taking my ball and going home, and then I'm taking everybody else's ball too and fucking going home with it. Because I played with it a couple times. Like, what are we fucking doing here? Billionaire and government efficiency chief Elon Musk. I do like how they are not calling it Doge. I know some of these journalists are getting so pissed off. I know Connor Murray was like, I'm fucking over my dead body, I'm going to call it that stupid dog. The unsupported claim the agency was a form of money laundering and that it paid celebrities millions to visit Ukraine. There's no evidence to suggest USAID is engaged in money laundering. On Saturday afternoon, Musk reposted a claim that suggested it was a form of money laundering taxpayers' money into far-left organizations, adding, absolutely, though neither poster offered sources or factual information. Although Republicans have criticized the organization for wasteful spending, there's no evidence that USAID was engaging in criminal behavior to support left-wing organizations. Shocker! Despite several posts on X claiming she raked in a large $84 million sum, the difference is to Clinton actually refers to her family's Clinton Foundation. The only Clinton-related organization that has received USAID money is the Clinton Health Access Initiative, to which USAID gave $7.5 million in court in 2019. The grant given was used to fund health services in Zambia between 2019 and 2021. What the fuck was I talking about earlier? What was I talking about earlier? Chelsea Clinton receives no compensation, according to IRS documents. You notice how Elon Musk posting shit without actual, like, sources, but we have USA spending, IRS documents. Did they pay celebrities to visit Ukraine, including Ben Stiller? There's no evidence. Several social media posts have claimed it. Stiller called the claims totally false and untrue, clarifying he self-funded his trip to Ukraine, has not received money from USAID. Penn's litigation attorney called it completely false. Penn self-funded his visit and threatening to take legal action if the defamatory statements continue. Fucking do it. Musk amplified these claims on X, reposting a video that was fabricated to look like it had been reported by E! News. So are we seeing what's happening here? Like, are we seeing how the gears all turn one into another? How you give this guy unfettered access to the government and also unfettered access to a massive platform that he transforms into ostensibly what he wants to label it as, a way to disseminate and spread news. He has no oversight on either of these things and is able to just ravage one side of things in the government and then slop whatever he wants, propaganda, onto Twitter, where the base that he's germinated with Trump's help will just take it as pure fact. It's news coming straight from the source, obviously. When in reality, it is just this nightmare propaganda machine he's created that is, for as sloppy as it is, ridiculously effective. Shockingly effective. Oh, did USAID fund research that caused COVID-19? Musk reposted an unproven claim that it funded specific research. Nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance. Some of the EcoHealth Alliance's methods are controversial. The groups previously said the viruses of the study were not similar enough to COVID. Did Politico get paid by the government? Yes, but for subscriptions, not USAID grants. spread false claims the USAID gave the news outlet Politico millions of dollars, which Trump basically claimed was to write good stories about the Democrats, suggesting this could be the biggest scandal. But Politico never received any donations. Statement spent $44,000 on subscriptions to Politico Pro, which news outlet described as a professional subscription service used by companies, organizations, and yes, some government agencies. That's absolutely not surprising. Like, you are literally in politics. You subscribe to a politics magazine? Fucking shocker. Like, are Trump and Musk just surprised that some people actually do their jobs and read about the shit they're doing? Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, claimed last week they spent $50 million on condoms in Gaza. This is not true. May have been referring to USAID grants issued to the International Medical Corps, a group that provides aid to victims of war, totaling more than $100 million, in which family planning programming, including contraceptives, were included, which is typical for aid packages to developing countries. Again, all of this shit is soft power. All of it is expected of a world superpower, especially if you are exerting your influence over other parts of the world. It's like we have the dumbest fascists in the world in power because they don't understand anything other than pure, blunt power. In posts on X, Musk said the U.S. should not be sending U.S. taxpayer money to buy condoms for foreigners and basically claimed money for contraceptives ended up in the pockets of Hamas. The Consumer Protection Bureau. Russell Vought took over as acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Friday night, and officials from Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency deleted the banking watchdog's X account. Vaught's new role, first reported by the Wall Street Journal, came a day after he was confirmed by the Senate to lead the office of OMB. Everyone is just dismayed and angry, the source said of the mood inside the CFPB. Neither the White House nor the CFPB have responded to CNN's request for comment. So, well, again, they're just hollowing these things out, and then we find out what's going to happen later. This is what happens when you apply the dumbass Silicon Valley ethos of, like, I think it was Zuckerberg who had the, like, move fast and break shit, or maybe one of those assholes. When you apply it to something that is intricately layered, one piece on top of the other, and I want to say, I am not against cutting things like bureaucracy, cutting things like wasteful spending. All of these things are good and noble goals to try and achieve. This is the dumbest fucking possible way you could try and achieve them. By trying to hollow out organizations, laying off thousands of workers, because ultimately it's not about running something that works for everybody. It's about running something that works for people like Elon Musk, that works for people like Trump, that works for the oligarchs, because he doesn't give a flying fuck about any average American person, and never has. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Great fucking photo, by the way, from Wired. Wired has been absolutely killing it on exposing these little dorks, by the way. To the chagrin of everybody who's been saying, oh, they're being doxxed. Giving somebody's name, their legal name, their age, who they are, their picture, that is not doxing. When you are in control and you are touching some of the most sensitive parts of the government that will affect life, tangibly affect life for millions and millions of people, that's not doxing, okay? Like, people deserve to know who these unelected little shithead sycophants are if they're going to be getting their sticky little toddler fingers all over everything. Elon Musk's takeover of federal government infrastructure is ongoing. At the center of things is a coterie of engineers who are barely out of, and in at least one case, reportedly still in college. Most have connections to Musk. We've talked about this. All right, so Doge staffer resigns after secret racist X post revealed. One of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency goons resigned Thursday amid growing inquiries over his links to a social media account pushing racism and eugenic theories. Quote, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. Normalize Indian hate. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool." Commenting on the Israel-Gaza war, post read, "I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth." Alez and his colleagues reportedly left chaos and contempt in their wake as they systematically gained access to the federal government's most sensitive databases, and departments. Allegations include screaming fits and physical altercations with security, as the young staffers were met with resistance by some senior government workers. So that's great. Now, what happened there, Vice President J.D. Vance attempted to defend on Friday an employee of Elon Musk cost-cutting Doge who made racist posts on social media promoting eugenics. Here's my view. Now, this is what I want you to keep in mind, shit, like the fact that J.D. Vance has an Indian wife. Make whatever he said about, like, in normalizing Indian hate, saying he's been racist before it was cool. But the fact that he's also 25 years old, is a grown-ass adult. So here's the dichotomy. Again, the fascist dichotomy is always, or just fascism is always a dichotomy of how they represent themselves, because they are both, at the same time, overwhelmingly strong, and we're super tough and super cool, but also, oh, everybody else is out to get us, and they want to take everything from us, and no, don't, I'm just a little guy. But also, we're super badass and super based. But also, oh, geez, I'm just little old me. You can't be mad at me. And you see that also happening here, where at the same time, if you go and look at people defending Elon Musk's Doge kids for going and just pillaging all of these government agencies, they'll say, "Oh, look at these kids. They're geniuses. Like, they're just so smart and cool." It's like, okay, well, you can't have it both ways. Is he a genius? Is he a wonderkind? Or is he a fucking little idiot baby boy who don't know no better? Like, does he know the difference between right and wrong? Does he know racism's bad? Or is he, like, have the power of a supercomputer in his head? Like, what? Pick a fucking lane here. To which J.D. Vance says, here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of Elez's posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. He's 25 years old. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people, ever. So I say bring him back. If he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that. The thing here that's wild to me is that if he's a bad dude or terrible member of the team, both of those things go without saying for somebody who says normalize hating certain people. Who thinks one race of people is just better than the other. When you are handling sensitive information that affects millions of Americans and you are clearly partial to white identity politics, yeah, you shouldn't be in power. Like, you are a bad fit for the job. And a bad, as J.D. Vance says, a bad dude. He will be brought back to err is human, to forgive divine. Fuck you. Judge orders sweeping restriction on Doge access to sensitive Treasury payment systems. This was earlier today. Federal judge on Saturday issued a sweeping block order on most Trump administration officials from accessing sensitive Treasury records for at least a week while legal proceedings play out, warning that the efforts of Musk's Doge allies to take control of Treasury sensitive payment systems, which have access to personal information of millions of Americans and government's financial transactions, were putting their residents at risk. He agreed with the state's assessment that the abrupt changes in policy had created a risk that sensitive data would be disclosed or that the system could be hacked. He also said the states were very likely to show that the new arrangement was legally improper. Yeah, no shit. Federal judge in Washington has already limited access to this platform to a pair of Musk allies who had been embedded within Treasury as, quote, special government employees, as well as other existing Treasury employees and officials with legitimate reasons to access it. But this order goes farther, barring even the two Musk-associated officials, Tom Krause and Marco Elez, fuck you, and many other government employees from accessing the system until at least February 14th, when a different federal judge has called the hearing on the matter. The order is the latest in a series of emergency intervention by the courts to block the Trump administration's rapid-fire attempt, led by Musk's Doge office in the White House, to remake the federal bureaucracy. Engelmeyer's order followed by just hours a block by a federal judge in Washington on a Musk-led drive to quickly dismantle USAID, the agency responsible for administering foreign aid programs. And other judges have intervened to limit Trump's early efforts related to birthright citizenship, a sweeping spending freeze, a government-wide resignation program, and the relocation of transgender prison inmates. Now, my real concern here, the real quandary I come into, is what is this actually going to accomplish? If you think about, and maybe it's just because of where I'm at right now, but if you think about bureaucracy, as annoying as it is, I fucking hate it. If you think about government, all these branches, all these elected officials, all of these different oversights and committees, as a massive organism, then it would stand to reason that there are also these checks and balances to act as antibodies, right? There are these things that will sniff out and correct anything that's wrong within the system. They will fight against it. And what we have, or what we seem to have right now in America, is a failing immune system. And I question what will happen to orders like this. What will become of, A, the people who stand by them and give them? Because again, we know from Project 2025, they have goals to replace the judges they don't like with judges they will. The ultimate goal of what they're starting to work on here is to tear out anybody who doesn't explicitly agree with the Trump agenda and install somebody who does. And when I say Trump agenda, I should more accurately say the Project 2025 agenda. Because I do want to talk about that really quick. So this is actually kind of entwined with, you'll notice, while Trump has been signing a lot of executive orders, technically, he's been doing a lot of, they're photo oppy, right? Like they're very much like the women in sports one. They're not really useful to him, right? Outside of the vague propaganda value they have, outside of his, stupid base going, oh yes, winning even more. But they don't feel genuine to him. And what I think he's getting out of this presidency so far is it's going to be shit like what he was talking about in Gaza. Like wanting to try and manage real estate there. Like that's what he fucking does. He's a Queenie New York real estate bitch. Like that's always been what he wants to do. That's always been who he is. And so Musk being able to fulfill his end that he's always campaigning on of draining the swamp and cutting federal bureaucracy and doing all this shit that won't affect Trump or Musk either way. And if anything, is just going to continue to make them more money. Allows him, Trump, to free up his bandwidth for truly important shit like naming himself chairman of the Kennedy Center while firing all of the other board of trustees. Yeah, no, Banana Brains in the chat saying this, which is very interesting, by the way. To be clear, as has been the case for the last couple of weeks, the Kennedy Center is unsure if Trump even has the legal authority to claim ownership of the center. So here's the real problem with what we're seeing here with Trump's authority is that it is a whole lot of him saying, I'm doing this thing, and a lot of people going, okay, well, who's going to stop him? And then nobody stops him. Like, it has been a lot of acquiescing, and appeasing, as opposed to just being like, no, fuck you, eat shit. Because a lot of people are tired of the pushback. I do want to see, because he talked about how there are drag shows at the Kennedy Center. One of the nation's premier cultural institutions, specifically declaring that he would end events featuring performers in drag. First off, very funny to end any kind of theatrical venue saying you can't have performers in drag. So I guess that takes off any tours of any good Shakespeare. That takes off dictating programming. Like, I can't even, it's just going to be like Andrew Lloyd Webber and Jersey Boys. bulldozed his way across official Washington during the first weeks of his second term, trying to shutter federal agencies' free spending. Quote, at my direction, we're going to make the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. great again. I have decided to immediately terminate multiple individuals, including the chairman, who did not share our vision for a golden age in arts and culture. Kennedy Center responds to Trump's announcement that he's taking over as chairman. We have received no official communications from the White House regarding changes to our boards of trustees. We are aware that some members have received termination notices from the administration. It really is. It's just a case of like, he just says something, and the thing that is scary is that you have a lot of people who are already saying, hey, the government agencies, you don't need to go through and follow like all of this sweeping changes and shit being made to like remove any mentions of queer people or any mentions of gay people. But you know what? The people at the top of the agencies, if they aren't already in line with Trump, they're doing it anyway out of fear. They're going to keep doing it. Shortly after, Trump posted a picture that appeared to be AI generated of himself as the orchestra conductor with the caption, "Welcome to the new Kennedy Center." And see, that's the kind of shit he actually wants. Like he wants to he wants to go to the shows. He wants to go on Broadway. Now he has his own personal little Broadway. He wants his name up in lights and everybody clapping for him as he watches the little people dance on stage. And when he vacations in the fucking Middle East, he has his own little private Mar-a-Lago in Gaza. Like that's the dumbass simple bullshit he wants. He has always been a Queenie, New York real estate mogul dickhead at his core. And some people in the chat saying well, no, actually, Elena Connor, Chinese magic cards aren't as cool because they don't have skulls, which is true. Asked Trump to name 3 plays. Trump is oddly autistic about musicals. He always has been. This is true. Like people saying like, oh my gosh, Trump, there's no way he knows culture and plays like that. The dude fucking loves musicals and Broadway. He always has. It's one of the weirdest, dumbest fucking things in the world. Like I don't think he has any real love or attachment to like other public events like sports or anything. But his love for that shit is real. There is a reason why Memory from Cats and something from Phantom of the Opera were on his playlist when he was showing up for CPAC. No, it's one of the many things that just confirms my Caleb Harris. He's the straightest queen ever. Like he is just a fucking old queen. Like that's the craziest part about it.